We believe that people, just for the fact that being born in one place or the other, should have same opportunities as those who are born in one place or other with much better offering.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Allaire, and this is The Money Movement. I'm very excited to have as a guest today Alvaro Correa, who is the co-founder and COO of DolarApp, an emerging company in Latin America and maybe eventually the whole world that is trying to bring digital dollars to as many people as possible to make it simple, convenient, safe, and easy to use over the internet. And fascinating company, a wonderful story, and I think really ties together a lot of the things that we've been focused on here at Circle. It's really, really a pleasure to have you on the show, Alvaro.
No, thank you, Jeremy, for the invite. It's really a pleasure to be here with you.
So maybe we can start with a little bit about your own story and just maybe where did you grow up? And of course, what did you experience in the economy and the financial system as part of your growing up?
Well, I'm Spanish, as you can feel in my accent. Industrial engineer, but I started my career in Boston Consulting Group as a management consultant. And there I spent a lot of time supporting financial institutions in Latin America. So that was like the first time I spent my time with people in Latin America, learning about the culture, like how they live, how they do their financial life, no? Spend time there, like probably this, when I found about this first problem, no? Like the problem that we're trying to solve. Then I moved to Revolut, to work in Revolut. I started there as an executive associate for the P of growth. I spent like 6-7 months doing a lot of things in growth, especially in the referral channel, which was one of the largest channels of acquisition for Revolut. Then when COVID came, we moved to work with VP of Revenue, Alan Chan. There we were mainly working on making the company profitable. So, like COVID came, like payment was like, you never know where they are going, travel like disappear, Revolut being like a travel card. So we had to reroute the company to get improve our financials. And we managed to make the company like break even by 6-7 months after we started working on that. A large part of that was driven by crypto, no? That there was a big boom. Revolut was involved in this business. We were also like lucky to have that trend. And after we achieved that goal, I moved to the subscription/premium department, where I was managing the whole department. And after that, when I started my venture here in DolarApp, no? I started with my two co-founders, Fernando and Zach. Both of them are also from Revolut. And with Fernando, I was working also on BCG. No? It's a long story since we have been together. The three of us experienced the problem in Latin America. And then in Revolut, we were able to get close to the crypto, to the world, no? To the new capabilities that were being brought to the industry by the blockchain. And from there, like, we got the idea to build DolarApp.
I want to get into the DolarApp, of course. I think it's interesting the time you spent at Revolut. I think Revolut is obviously well known as an app, as a cross-border app, as an app that made it simple and convenient to move between currencies, get online very easily. And as you said, you worked in the growth department, one of your roles, and sort of the really leveraging the users to drive referrals and drive growth. It's certainly a great case study in the kind of fintech 2.0 era of mobile apps and of digital money. But I'm interested, so that's obviously a very fascinating background. And I think when we met the first time, I don't know if it was you who said it or I who said it, but it was sort of like, it feels like you're building like a Revolut for Latin America, but you're building it on a completely new architecture, which is, stable coins and the internet financial system, not the legacy financial system. And sort of you're looking forward to a better financial system. And I think a lot of kind of fintech 2.0 products, the magic that they did, like instant conversion between one currency and another currency, or immediate availability of funds that made it appear like settlement was instant, was sort of behind the scenes actually still piecing together a lot of the legacy system, underwriting risk and things like that. And as I had some experience with Circle Pay, which was a similar product to Revolut as well. But that kind of building on the legacy infrastructure versus building on this new internet financial system and what that represents. And when did you know, like in your heart or in your mind, when did you know that the technology was there to be able to build like a next generation model for this?
So on this, and starting first, like overall in the industry, as you mentioned, like long time ago, you have the banks with the branch. That was the distribution, like the more branches you have in the most remote place, this is how you win with human relationship one-to-one. And then like this 2.0, like all these digital banks that they realize that you need to have like all these branches out there to win consumers. So you have the digital players like Revolut and all the other players, and they have really like amazed all consumers with very nice UX, amazing experience in terms of like fast settlement, how fast like the app work, like how easy it is to manage your financials. And that has been a revolution. Like, people are now moving to this kind of banks of this platform, and it has been super good for the industry. Now, like the problem of, I would say, of these institutions, as you mentioned, they are built over incumbents rails. So you have the front end is super nice, but the back end, it's kind of built by similar, like not exactly the same, but similar platform that all banks have been built. That means that all the costs, like all the inefficiency that you have, like Swift, like this super legacy.
Time delays, fees, risks. Yeah.
Exactly. So now we also see that there is a 3.0 generation of the digital banks, which is okay. Now you can have like this amazing UX, but you can revamp the whole backend. You can have a backend which is robust, fast, and cheap. So this is like the way we see that. Like the industry is moving to now amazing UX, but also amazing backend, which allows you to be super efficient and allows you to give like the best pricing out there to the market. Which at the end of the day, if the users see that it's cheaper, and you have same experience, they're going to choose it. Then like more like answering like this second question of when I realized of this was like an opportunity. I think that during our time in Revolut, we were knowing about blockchain, like all the good things that they were bringing, but we never kind of like take a step forward until we saw that there was an opportunity in the market. Like you can have amazing backend, you can have efficient, and you can reduce costs, but if you're not solving problems for consumers, then you will just have like something that works very well, but nobody use. Then is when we were combining like knowing about this new technology with our experience in Latin America and the problems that they have in that region, that not only like problems on like access to a better financial life, but also like how like all these banks were not like really even progressing the 2.0. Was kind of, they were kind of struggling. So we kind of combined this opportunity of the solving a problem and the new technology, and for us it was very clear. Like I remember with my co-founder in London, I was living with him, so we were working together and we were in the same flat in London, and we were like more him like bringing a lot of ideas to the table. We had like entrepreneurs in like mind, and when he came with this idea, it was like, this is very clear. Like it's a massive problem, there is a clear solution which is coming now to the industry. There is no a better moment to build this, and then we decided to do that.
I want to get into more of where the product is, but I think what I obviously, as the issuer and operator of USDC, where our stated goal is to ensure that every person in the world with a mobile device can have a digital dollar account on their phone, it makes us very excited when we hear DolarApp. And so the name of the app, it references the dollar. It is very clearly like digital dollars. And, within your target market, Latin America, there's this sort of shadow economy for dollars. There's, some countries are officially dollarized, some are unofficially dollarized, but there's this role of the dollar. And now that we have this new invention, which is internet-based digital dollars, it kind of creates, it's this leapfrogging, like you said, this third generation, it's like this leapfrogging into like a new financial system. How do you think about the positioning of the product as a dollar app? Literally the name of the company, the name of the app, but as a dollar app. And then, who today, who's the target customer for the product? Because it could be many different types of people who might want a dollar app. But as from our earlier conversations, I know you have the initial target market is very specific, but maybe also as you think about this on a grander scale, on a long-term scale, who do you think eventually could use DolarApp?
So starting first on why, it's very clear we go kind of like US digital DolarApp, no? When we were starting with this, how do we discover the problem? So Fernando also working at BCG and myself working in Latin America, we have like a couple of stories, that were leading us to think that, okay, dollars are important in Latin America, but they seem not to have kind of access, or since that something is broken, so people have the need, but not the solution, no? Like one experience from my side, I was working for banking in Panama, where majority of clients were not from Panama, they were from Colombia and Venezuela. So people were coming from Colombia and Venezuela to bring their dollars so they could be banked in dollars. And that was the only solution that they had, no? Because there was no solution in Venezuela nor in Colombia, so they had to go to Panama to have a normal standard dollar financial life, no? That's one. And then the second is my co-founder Fernando. He was also like working in Colombia. He was working also with BCG, and one of his mate of the project one day going to Miami with a suitcase full of dollars, no?
Yeah.
And Fernando like always tell him like, what the fuck? Like, how come like your suitcase, you go to Miami, you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Someone can take your suite, no? Or like you go to the border, they're gonna say, what are you doing? No, because I know you need to bring like less than 10K, so if you can pass. So it was like a lot of mess just to be banking dollars, no? So we know about the problem. But then when we were doing our research, it was like, okay, there are data points that tell us that something is happening. We did a very simple analysis, which is, okay, now there is a boom about Bitcoin, no? At that time, say now moving to Bitcoin. Everyone talking about Bitcoin, but let's compare in Google search what people look for, no? Do people look for Bitcoin or do people look for dollar? And to our surprise and kind of confirming our hypothesis, like dollar was like 10 times more searched than Bitcoin. So it's like, okay, Bitcoin could be a solution, but people want dollars. So why moving to something weird that people don't understand or people are not like looking for, and not just go to digital dollars? So that's why we say, okay, this is very simple. We just need to offer what people are looking for, no? And we have the way, which is via digital dollars. And from there, all the branding, the name itself is like, we are just giving what people want.
Yeah.
And this answer first question, and the second question is, who are we targeting? So all these people that I was talking about, no, that they are suffering from this problem, no? So you have people in Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, that they want to have like a digital dollar asset. So we provide that solution. There are people traveling from Mexico to the US, like around 20 million every year traveling there, and they have a Mexican card, no? So when they go to the US, given that they don't have transparency on paying in dollars, you can imagine all the fees they are being charged, no? And also, like when they are moving funds from US to Latin America, you can hold any digital dollar or any dollar asset, like whoever is doing the conversion, they're gonna do whatever they want. No? So people are screwed on when they're doing this transaction, which is something which happen a lot. Don't have to set out those corridors, no. But people don't have like an efficient solution, no. So we are targeting those people, no. People who have a massive problem that we can bring a 100x experience and cost, and we'll be advocating of DolarApp. No? Like when you solve such a big problem to a person, that person is gonna talk to his friend, use this because this really solve a problem. So we are targeting those people who travel, who send from the US, and who wanna hold a digital or a dollar-denominated asset.
We have this focus at Circle on really seeing growth in digital dollars as a store of value, cross-border transaction experiences, and sort of remittances or moving value. Sounds like you check all of those boxes as well. Why USDC? When you think about digital dollars, what is it about USDC that is important for you guys?
So when we started, we were agnostic. Like there were a lot of options on the stable coins. So we did our work. So we normally internally in DolarApp, we say that we need to do the work for the client. So we need to do the best for our customers. And of course, we have to choose the best currency, the digital asset, the best one for our user. No? And the most important thing here was like security. No, we studied the different stable coins that were out there, and probably like USDC was the most transparent, and also the approach that the USDC was having. Like, okay, you have either treasury notes or treasury bills, and you have cash. It's like, okay, this makes sense. No? Like if we were building a stable coin, we will be building with cash, no, and maybe like some treasury note from the US government. No, but we believe this is the safest. No? So if we believe that these audits that they are coming and taking out there are true, which what we have to do the work to confirm that was correct, then it's like for us it's what makes the most sense. No? So that's the reason why we chose USDC.
Yeah. As you think about the future, and given your background with Revolut as well, there's a lot of innovation that's happening on blockchain networks. There's building blocks. People are building for on-chain currency exchange and on-chain borrowing and lending and all kinds of other applications. And I'd be interested, today you have this sort of cross-border travel, store of value, but it is part of your decision to build on blockchain infrastructure and sort of integrate to the internet financial system. Is part of that also kind of focused on what might be the future of the way, financial products are made available to people?
We are like the solution that we're going to be using for bringing more products and solutions to our customer don't need to be blockchain. Like we don't love blockchain just for being blockchain. Mm-hmm. If blockchains bring something that is useful and better for our customer, we'll be using it. If we don't find that, we're going to find somewhere in some other place. No, and actually we are building products which is not blockchain based. We are building products which is traditional, but there are just by solving how fast you move the money, like all the fees that you are reducing, you can bring a traditional financial product at the lowest level. You have the blockchain making the movement, but at the end of the day, if you're going to buy a stock in the US, right, you have to buy the stock, no? And that's fine. It doesn't need to be blockchain.
Yeah,
no? Like,
sure.
You are serving that. It's true that we leverage on the technology to make the movement, but the end product, the end thing that we're going to be using for further products, we won't be looking for blockchain innovation and put them out there. If we see that blockchain has something like what we have seen now with moving USDC everywhere in the world, we're going to be using it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think our short-term vision is that more and more, new kinds of digital banks and neobanks and digital wallets can connect and exchange value with each other using USDC as a common settlement. And so we're seeing lots of different digital wallets support it around the world, and that creates this kind of interoperability and movement, which is really important. I'm interested to hear a little bit about the growth story, right? You're still young as a company, but you're growing fast. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your growth. You don't have to share information that's confidential, of course, but I know you're growing fast, and that's really exciting to hear.
Yeah, like it's a year and a couple of months since we launched first country in Mexico. So that was last year, 2022. Then we launched Argentina in February this year, in 2023. And then we have recently launched in Colombia, in July. So we're moving super fast. We believe that, and that's a learning that we got from Revolut, that you need to expand your TAM in the early days, which is when you are like more flexible, when you can do more things in a fast way. So we're aiming for that. We keep opening new markets and we will continue. And the 3 markets where we are operating, the reality is that we have found different use cases in each of them, but all of them has kind of worked pretty well. No? And the reason why we are growing, why people are using that, is because we bring a better product. No? It's better product, which is cheaper. So people start using that, and people tell to their friends, you need to use that. If you don't use that, like you're not making the right decision. No? The cleverest decision is using DolarApp. It's not using other product. No? So that's the way we're framing a growth. Of course, we also have like acquisition channel beyond organic. People sharing and telling about DolarApp is a big thing, no? And the reason is because we have a much better product.
That's awesome and exciting. And I know you've raised some venture capital, and I know some of the people who've invested as well, and their thesis about kind of stable coins and dollarization and next generation of banking, and so it's definitely playing out. What's next that you can talk about on the product front?
It's hard to say, no, but you can say. But we want to be in more places, and we want to be solving those these more problems that people have in these countries where I mentioned. No, I think everything related to payments, investing, and saving, you can imagine all these different products we're going to be building. We come from Revolut, 3 founders. So the school where we have grown, we need to win by having the best product with the best offering. No? So we are not stopping in building. We're going to continue, and we will have a full financial app that will go from the most common transactions to the ones that just like some people use but are not like the classic one. But we're going to have a full spectrum of financial offering in our platform. We go one by one, solving what we find is the most relevant. No, but I think like summarizing is we have big ambition. We want to aim for everything. And you have seen in Europe Revolut, so you can imagine a similar, but with a lot of learnings
and a new architecture. I think one of the things that we care a lot about is the way in which this technology can provide greater participation in the global, economy through access to better currencies, better financial rails, to kind of expand the franchise of people participating in the financial system, but in the digital economy as well. I would be interested to hear about, from a mission perspective, other than like growing a lot of users as a business, how do you see what you're doing as impacting people's lives and livelihood?
We believe that people, just for the fact that being born in one place or the other, should have same opportunities as those who are born in one place or other with much better offering. No? So we're working for that. We work for for those people that just for the fact that being born in a region, in a specific country, have problems like having a normal financial life, we're building for them. And this is what we build, and this is what we believe that we are doing to the world and society. No? Like we're not building in countries where there are no fees, no? When or you can exchange freely, no? Like we're building in a region where banks are like the return, like ROI is the highest, no? Like banks are screwing their customers. So we're building for them.
It's a great mission, and it's been fun to see your early success, and we're really appreciative of the work that you do with us as well. But it's been a great pleasure having you on, Alvaro, and many years of success ahead.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's a pleasure.